Hi everyone, so today we're going to do a little review of the Senja.io SEO. So despite their domain rating 75, the Senja is not doing as well as it could in the SEO. So there is a lot to unpack in here, so let's get to it. So let's land on the homepage. So by the brief looks of it, right, we could see a nice hero section, hands down the best testimonial tool on the market. And as we scroll, we see a bunch of testimonials, as you would expect. Then we see you without social proof and you with social proof as a bit of a memes, which is also nice. So by the initial looks of it, you see that the landing page is decent. So why is it not doing as well as it should in the SEO? Personally, I would expect this page to rank very well, but it doesn't. If we actually gonna have a look at Senja.io exact URL for organic keywords, what you'll see in here, I've filtered for United States only, positioned between 7 to 30, because these are the keywords that we potentially want to rank for. And then I filtered out anything that has a keyword Senja in it, because that's a branded keyword and normally you would rank for it just by existing as a brand. So let's have a look. And actually our homepage only ranks for 22, 23 keywords as of today. So what's wrong with Senja? Let's start with a bit of a technical audit here. So I'm using the extension called Detailed. You could just download it, it's free. So let's start in here. So we get the overview, we get a meta title and meta descriptions. As you could see, Senja, collect, manage, and share testimonials. The easiest way to collect testimonials and add them to your website. Get started for free. It's a bit short, but it's okay. You can go up to 150 characters roughly. So there is a bit of a space to add a bit more call to action. So URL, and we see we have a correct canonical, it's self-referencing, so it's fine. We don't have keywords. I don't think it is that important. Anyway, word count. So we've got roughly 1,400 words on the page, but this is where the fun starts. If you actually have a look in here, we only have one H1 and two H2s, but there's no real structure. So let's have a look at headings. So we see we start with H2. You actually shouldn't start with H2. I suspect it's this logo in here. So we could remove that as H2. And then we start with H1, which is this hands down the best testimonial tool on the market. And then we have, testimonials. Here is why people trust us, which I believe is going to be somewhere here. So that's the first big issue, is that everything is added as a span, as a text. You typically don't want to do it. So you basically miss a hierarchy, content hierarchy on the page. And obviously search engines, they do rely heavily on the headings. So the fact that all of these are just strings, paragraphs, or spans is not helping search engines to understand the page or understand the structure of the page. So step number one would be on a homepage to fix all of these show social proof everywhere. Basically anything that has a big text should be a header, and then rank them in a logical order. So this section would be H2, and then these would be H3s, and then within them there will be a content. So that's the problem number one. Then we're gonna go next. So links. I'm not gonna go through it because these are just basically links that you normally see on the homepage. Images. So we've got a total of 89 images on the page, but actually 88 of them are without alt text. So alt text helps crawlers to actually get the context of the image. They don't normally parse the image, they don't try to recognize what it is, so crawlers heavily rely on the alt text. So remember, alt text is part of the actual content of the page, so it's important to keep it there. So what do we have next? Next we go to schema. So schema, aka structured data, is a bunch of standardized schemas that are part of a knowledge graph. You could You could just read more about it. But what we'll see in here is we do actually have a schema, which is a product. It's named Senja, and we have aggregate rating of type aggregate rating, but we don't actually have the aggregate rating value. We don't have anything else beyond that, so that schema doesn't actually help with anything. So a couple of schemas I would recommend adding for every homepage. So we would start with, I'm just gonna read it because I have it on a list and on my second screen. FAQ, brand, organization, contact, software application, and then aggregate rating. But make sure you actually have aggregate ratings. You could also add these reviews that we have in here, and you could add them into the review schema. So these are the minimum that every page should have. So for the brands, you could also include things like contact information, etc. It will all make you appear in like a knowledge graph on Google sidebar. So let's carry on. What do we have next? So we are having missing schema and then socials. So we do have socials, we do have open graph, we do have some image in there. So it all seems fine to me. And advanced, we can just skip that. Right, so that's about a technical SEO. One part you also want to ensure is you have your page speed insights. So I did a run through it, and it seems like we do actually pass Core Web Vitals for the actual real users, which is good on mobile and desktop. The diagnose performance on the Google server actually shows we fail, but it's not as important as the actual UX values. So the first block in here you'll see is that how real users experience on their devices, on their Chrome devices specifically, how they experience your website. So there is no issues there, which is fine. So the first step would be to fix all these little technical SEO issues. Another thing I've noticed as well is that the homepage specifically, lacks semantic variance. What I mean by this is we're gonna open the inspector, and in here you'll see a three items in the list of features, aka benefits. But actually these are just paragraphs in the code. Some people might argue they not matter. I would say they do, because again they provide that structure to crawlers to parse, and it's so easy to fix. And you just fix it once and it's there. So I would definitely convert these paragraphs to the actual lists. So right, let's move on onto the actual content part. So what do we see in here? What we see is that Senja homepage actually ranks for quite a few keywords beyond just Senja. And in particular, what struck me is that we are actually ranking for this video testimonial software keyword on the position 7, which to me shows that with a little bit of optimization on a homepage, we could actually tip it into top 3. There's a lot of variants, so video testimonial software, video testimonials app, but they all mean the same thing. So what I would personally do is I would add a section in here on the homepage. If we actually search for video testimonials, we'll see we'll have roughly 6 matches. One is in the feature, and it's another one is auto transcript from video testimonials, then HD video downloads. And then another list, and then in a footer. So we don't actually have a specific section of the video testimonials. So what I would personally do on this page is I would add the video testimonial section specifically designed for it with a proper header. And basically that would be probably enough to tip Senja into the top 3. We could also review a lot of these keywords as well, how to website testimonials, video review page, and so on, and see if any of these are of interest to us to rank for. But now let's move on to a second part that I personally think is a big miss, and it could potentially add a lot of MRR to the to Senja, and these are the pages that are compare pages. So I have them open in here. As you can see in here, there is a big list of basically Senja versus the competition. Um, so we have this index page, which is senja.io/compare, and then we'll have all these links to testimonial.to, boast.io, delighted, FIFO, and so on. So all of these are basically reviews platforms. And so if you're gonna open, for example, a FameWall ends FameWall, so your search for an alternative to FameWall ends here. This is the page which should effectively rank for a keyword FameWall alternative or FIFO alternative, basically competitor alternative page. The issue I have with this page is that it's a very thin content. It actually doesn't rank that well. So I think I have it open, one of them in here. So I have the FIFO page, and if I actually go and search for FIFO alternatives and see how it ranks, it actually doesn't. It doesn't actually rank for FIFO alternatives. These pages are super important to rank for because these are already extremely frustrated users with the existing platform, and these users are basically willing to give you money right away. So you actually want to spend your time to rank these pages. But the problem we have in here is that all of these pages are just part of the same template with just swapped keywords, which basically triggers Google content duplication mechanism. And what it does, it just deranks you basically, and it just doesn't rank very well because the page effectively doesn't provide any value. Here is what I mean by this. So I'm using a tool called diff checker. Developers know it's basically a get different. And what I did, I took a FameWall page, Command A, copy the whole content, and then took a second page, Command A, copy the whole content, and then I put them side by side into the diff checker. And so what we'll see in here is that these are all the differences in the content. So your search for alternatives to FameWall ends here. Your search for alternatives to FIFO ends here. Looking for an alternative to testimonial.to, looking for a FameWall alternative. It's actually interesting because there is FIFO actually ranks for testimonial.to. So all these pages, they don't even have unique variables because clearly that's coming from another page. And so as you can see, there's a lot of exactly the same content, and there is no way in the world you would rank for the keyword FIFO alternative. So this is the page where I'd actually spend a lot of time, make sure that I have a nice landing page where I have nice screenshots from Senja and FameWall, compare them side by side. One of the issue as well in here is that, let's have a look actually on the headers. So it seems like we do have headers. So we have H1, we have H2s, but actually we never have semantical variants. What I mean because by this is that FameWall alternative could be also Senja versus FameWall. Some will people search by it for it, but instead we have just generic Senja versus the competition. So I would definitely include more of FameWall focused content. So rather than bring your testimonials from anywhere on the web, I would bring your testimonials from FIFO, for example, or from FameWall. Bring your Senja versus FIFO, Senja versus FameWall, Senja compared to FameWall, and so on. This would make your page much more targeted to the actual competition and to the actual difference. Then also I would definitely get rid of this templated content in here. So I would definitely change these titles, the text, just to make sure that you have enough difference to actually show Google that this page has of any value, and you're actually comparing Senja to one of your competitors and why it's better, which is something that's completely missing. So you see in here we have Senja versus testimonial, but we are actually on a FIFA page. So no wonder these pages, they pretty much never rank. Also, one thing that I'm missing in here is Trustpilot alternative. People are extremely angry on Trustpilot because of the pricing and the predatory practices on businesses. So the search volume for this is actually pretty high, and Senja would have a really good chance of ranking it, but I didn't see any page, I couldn't see it in here where you would compare to Trustpilot. So you could actually eat a slice of Trustpilot frustrated users and convert them to Senja there. Right, let's move on. Let's move on, and we will move on. So I've actually went through a few blog posts. Let me find them in here. So these are all the pages that actually Senja ranks for. So I'm gonna go through this blog, testimonial collection software, which I believe, oh, no, it's not the one. Let's go actually through the one that I have open. So how to ask for testimonial over email, which we rank for, and we rank for, I have it open in here. So how to ask for testimonial over email. As you can see, we're not doing really well. The page is kind of in constant decline. Also, I would just ignore this decline in here of anything that's after rank 11, because obviously Google has changed their, they removed the query param, so obviously every search crawler, basically every tool is now broken. So let's have a look how they rank for. So how to ask for testimonials, ranking position 6, which is quite nice. With a bit of a optimization, we could actually tip it into top 3, I believe, and here is why. Here's what I would do to improve this page. So first of all, we have how to ask for testimonial over email, 5 examples. In here, we actually specifically asking over email. Maybe I would make it a generic, and I would just change this to how to ask for a testimonial, because actually this article doesn't necessarily talk over emails alone. So if I look at the headings of this article, we have best methods for collecting testimonials, and we have email, and then we talk about text messages, collect from your website headers, and so on. Where is the email here? So email is one of the options, but we don't actually talk specifically. So user intent is not necessarily justified. So what makes a testimonial, what makes up a testimonial request? And then we have testimonial request templates, which is quite nice. So we could work with this. So step number 1 I would do is I would change this. I would just move it how to ask for a testimonial. Now, if you've noticed, some of these tools, some of these other blog posts, they actually have a little bit of clickbites in there. So 9 examples of testimonial request emails that work. So that work actually, that's what makes you click, basically, because you're like, oh, or that if they work, then I need to click on it. Another one, how to ask for and get great testimonials. And then we actually have Reddit, of course we have Reddit. And then we have Senja, how to ask for a testimonial over email. It's kind of boring. Why would you click on it? So I would change something to like how to ask and get testimonials, or 5 examples that work, something a bit more bitey that would improve your click-through ratio. Then on the content itself, a couple of things as well. People who search for how to ask for testimonials, they don't really need to know why you need testimonials. They already know why they need it. They're asking how to get it. So this subsection in here, it's a fluff. I'd get rid of it. I haven't gone entirely through the whole content, but by skimming through the content, we could just zoom out. And one thing that I noticed is there's a lot of text. So I would definitely improve it by adding more visuals. So I could see some visuals in here, which is quite nice. But the text is quite long, and the post itself is long, and it doesn't necessarily have enough visual cues. So what makes up a testimonial request? There's a bit of a list in here as well, but if you actually zoom back, it's just a wall of text, and it's kind of hard to go. So what I would do, I would break this down. I wouldn't just make these on a gray background. I would actually make them in like a nice box to make sure that they're nicely formatted and stand out, and people can skim through them quite quickly. And these are just the small optimizations that we could do. We don't have to necessarily rewrite the whole content. So let's move on. These would be the next things I would focus on. Let's now move to just more suggestions and generic recommendations that Senja could do to improve their SEO game. So one thing I've noticed as well, that Senja doesn't actually utilize a lot of tools. So one of them I found is this Mine My Reviews, which essentially just collects. So you paste the URL and it seems like they just collect all the reviews from these platforms. So one of the interesting things you could do is you could find in one of my tabs that I have open in here, maybe not in here, 1 second, Trustpilot alternative, FIFO, oh yes, you could create some review tools. So a couple of them that I found is Google review search tool. So it seems like people want to search through Google reviews and they're looking for the tool. So you could create a tool and rank for this, and obviously then have some CTAs to Senja. It seems like it's a fair competition considering the domain rating of Senja. Another one that I found is there's a lot of them with AI. I would probably argue that you don't want to create something like AI review generator because you want to be authentic. But what you could create is potentially, there is a keyword called AI review response generator, which would basically help you to generate a response to a review from a customer. That could be one of the tools. Another tool that I found, I'm just reading it from here, Google review link generator. So you could create a link generator tool that would drive a good traffic as well. I would also be in here more strategic about content. So it seems like the content is in a lot of places and it would need to have a bit of an audit and basically review which blog posts are not ranking at all, which are ranking very well, and basically then cleaning the content and just reorganizing it. Let me find it. Let me find it in my list. Let's see if I can. Lots of tools. Yes. So anything that doesn't actually bring any traffic in here. So testimonial video, I would review if we need to keep this content or if we can just remove it if it doesn't bring any value. So I hope you enjoyed that roast. I hope, Ollie, you'll find this useful. And yeah, 2 million MRR, ARR, MRR. I wish you MRR as well. And I'll see you next time.